Last Night in Soho is not a good movie. We are introduced to the main protagonist, a wannabe fashion designer who has visions of her dead mother and is going to London.
Ellie's gift and sort of, what are the rules of her powers?
She's obsessed with the 60s. She goes to London, and through her kind of like psychic gift, she gets to go back to that time.
She didn't have your gift.
My gift.
She didn't feel things, see things like you do.
Right, so she is a psychic.
Bye.
Once in London...
I once with my mum, but I was small. Looks so different now.
Sorry, could you repeat that again, Ellie?
Looks so different now. I want to be a designer.
Yeah, but you could be a model, couldn't you? You got the legs for it.
I'll get out of here.
She arrives at her college to meet her new roommate.
And your mum?
My mother's dead.
Well, I knew we'd find some common ground eventually.
6 hours later.
It's a lot fucking weird. I'd laid bets on her slashing her wrists before Christmas.
They go outside when she suddenly sees a strange man. Being uncomfortable with her current roommate, she decides to move out.
I want 2 months' rent in advance and 2 months' deposit. I've had people just take off in the middle of the night, that's why.
Once installed, she goes to sleep. Ellie starts having dreams about being another girl, called Sandy.
I want to be your new headline act.
Where have you played before?
Nowhere.
Who starts at the Café de Paris?
Me.
Sandy eventually meets Jack.
You could be an old lady before you get on stage here. How about I get you a gig somewhere this week?
You could do that.
I could indeed.
They start kissing and they establish that the dream can have implications in real life.
This is rather retro. The hickey. Very daring.
So what did you get up to last night in Soho?
In the second dream, Sandy auditions and gets the job, while Jack becomes her manager. Eventually, Ellie starts copying the appearance of Sandy and discovers that the bar of her dreams is real. Because she's a psychic, right? There's no way that through mental illness she would have seen that bar. Without much money, Ellie searches for a job only to coincidentally find the same guy as before.
Who's your mother?
My mother's dead.
I thought she might be.
In the third dream, Ellie discovers that Sandy has been working as a prostitute and Jack is abusive. Oops.
Cooey. I know you're not asleep.
This causes Ellie distress because she feels betrayed by a dream, only to meet the old guy from before.
You smoke, don't you, love?
No.
Oh, must be thinking of some other blonde.
Then the director, the dream, gives us information about when the old dude met Sandy years in the past. Meanwhile, she starts seeing dead people in real life. Why did the fourth dream cause this? Because we need to move the plot. She starts seeing naked people, therefore she immediately goes to her 24-hour late university. She meets her friend and of course they go to a party and drink alcohol. That's a great idea. Almost immediately, she starts seeing ghosts again. Of course, the next plan is to go back to her room that she was trying to avoid because of the ghosts. Another fantastic idea.
15 minutes later.
The next day, she asks the tenant if someone died in that room.
This is London. Someone's died in every room, in every building in this whole city.
Well, time to move the plot.
Where you going? Several months later.
She goes to the police to tell her story.
The murder of a young woman in the mid to late 1960s by a man you believe to be her pimp.
Yeah.
I guess because she's in distress, she just doesn't think how would they prove it. Just a girl. Could you be any less specific, please?
There a history of schizophrenia or mental health issues in your family?
Why add this whole aspect when clearly a mental illness will not have provided information about the bar?
The plot is, it obviously sounds completely absurd, as it would be if you went to see a police officer saying, okay, so this is happening. But that's her reality. And so that was a fun thing for us to write, because you're seeing the film through the eyes of somebody who has a power that other people can't comprehend. And obviously people like think that, you know, that she's like sort of maybe like losing her marbles, but we as an audience know that she isn't.
She explains that one night she saw the old guy following her.
Didn't take much notice of me, but he did suddenly take notice when I changed my hair to the same style as Sandy's.
The logic is that because he noticed her hair color change, then he must be Jack. Hey, nice hair. Jail.
I'm looking for murdered women and missing persons from the 60s to try and find out her name. And if I don't, I'm gonna lose my mind.
By this point, the movie doesn't have anything else to do, so we focus on the search for the murderer that is vaguely related to the old guy who awkwardly looked at Ellie.
Like to think I looked after them. Had to keep them in order too, mind. Keep them in line. She didn't belong. I thought she was too good for it.
Why be as vague as possible? Is your real name Jack? No.
One smile and I was born. But you killed her.
You think I killed Sandy?
Minutes later.
Oh, Lindsay, you poor bastard.
That's not Jack.
No, love.
The street is so wide, wouldn't Ellie have seen the car coming from a mile away? Or at the very least, both of them heard the car? Anyway, Ellie decides to get out of London, but first she has to pick up her stuff from her apartment.
But I'm leaving tonight.
Drink your tea. A nice police lady came round in saying a girl died up there. A girl did die up there, I suppose. The young me.
Sandy.
You could say Sandy died in that room.
Such an amazing collaborator. He's so much fun to work with. He's so much fun in the room. He lets you be playful. He also lets you be dumb, which is so important to get a really good script. Because sometimes you have to say like really dumb ideas, and Edgar allowed me to be an idiot.
So, was the dream wrong? Why did the knife go downward?
The man who stole my dream. I put a knife in him.
That's not how the knife was shaped in the dream.
Bastards who came ringing my bell. They sent me to hell. So, I sent them to theirs.
If Jack was dead by that point, because obviously if she started killing her customers before his death, someone would have noticed, right? Then why continue to be a prostitute? If someone was just trying to get a prostitute, did they really deserve to die?
I know what you've been through.
How do you know?
Yeah, someone looked at me funny and I guess girls bullied me. Totally the same experience.
I know you're not going to tell anyone else. And everyone will think you just topped yourself because, you know, they all thought you were going to do that anyway.
If Ellie didn't know that Jack was murdered in the room, why tell her? If you are trying to protect your identity and not be recognized as the killer, why tell her that you are the killer? I'm going away. Okay, bye. Wouldn't it be easier to not have done anything? You want to kill the girl that is currently investigated by the police and that was going away with no clue whatsoever of what truly happened?
No more excitement for you tonight.
Okay, if you kill him too, what's going to be the excuse?
Minutes later.
The old lady enters the room to see a bunch of ghosts. So it's not a mental illness.
They deserved it.
I know.
Like, if they were raping you, sure. Otherwise, this is completely unjustified. The old lady cuts her own throat and Eloise and her friend are rescued. Ellie dies because she was clearly poisoned. Just kidding, there are no consequences at all. How did she survive being poisoned? Eloise becomes a famous designer by showing her 60s inspired dresses. So she won by romanticizing the past.
Is about is that, like, you know, you cannot go back in time, you cannot change what's past, you can only deal with the present and move forward from there. So there's that element to it. And also I think the danger sometimes is people use the phrase the good old days, but there is no decade where everything was good and nothing was bad. And obviously it comes up a lot in politics all the time, but it's always a fallacy that there's this perfect decade. And I think with the 60s is like, it was an incredible time culturally, but to sort of to romanticize it to the point where, you know, the darker side kind of gets swept under the carpet is a mistake.
I think maybe the point of the whole movie in a way is that the lesson is don't romanticize the past. Mm-hmm. You know, you might think that you want to go back in time to the 60s, but what you're probably imagining is the perfect world version of that.
Yeah, of course.
And
so that was something that I guess becomes the point of the movie, is like, it's dangerous to romanticize the past. And the further you get away from something and your tendency to romanticize the good times and the bad times sort of starts to sort of take away from the reality of the decade. And so I guess in a way the film is almost like a cautionary tale for time travelers. Be careful what you wish for.
How is it a cautionary tale if there's nothing to worry about in Ellie's life? Ellie and Sandy's lifestyles are not comparable. If she's a psychic, why add the mental illness aspect? To confuse the invisible audience? What was the point of him being run over? Wait, so if all she's seeing are dreams, why should the audience care about the plot? How do we move the story? Ghosts.